foreign places, talk about taking over. Giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain. We may criticize it. This is our own, we love it.
Members of Parliament, former members of Parliament, youth parliamentarians for the senior category of the 7th Annual Youth Parliament, mentors, parliamentary executive officer, staff of the Parliament Office, teachers, special invitees, viewers online. Please allow me, first and foremost, to acknowledge the judges for the senior category of the 7th Annual Youth Parliament. And I will begin with Mr. John Adams. He is a former member of Parliament. I will then go to the Honorable Sheila Versami. She is a government member of Parliament, current member, that is, and our Chief Judge, the Honorable Dr. Jennifer Westford, Member of Parliament on the government benches as well. I would like to invite Latoya Bethune to the podium to sing the national anthem. Please rise.
Let's all stand at attention as we sing the first and last stanza of the national anthem. Dear land of Guyana, of rivers and plain, made rich by the sunshine and flushed by the rain, set gem-like and fair between mountains and sea, your children salute you, dear land of the free. Dear land of Guyana, to you will we give our homage, our service each day that we live. God guard you, great mother, and make us to be more worthy your heritage, land of the free.
Thank you much, Ms. Bethune. Thank you very much for that. You may be seated. Once again, a pleasant afternoon to everyone in attendance and for those joining us online. I, Yannick December, your moderator for this afternoon's session, am pleased to welcome you to the second sitting of the 7th Annual Youth Parliament. On today's agenda, we will have the election of the Speaker first and foremost, but please, before we do that and you hear from our participants, I would ask the Sergeant at Arms to place the mace in in its rightful place. To the participants, go to your destiny. Mr. Clerk?
Honorable members, I believe now it is a convenient time to start this session. Honorable members, I will now call the names of those persons who have become members of the 7th Annual Youth Parliament. Will honorable members kindly answer as their names are called? Ronaldo Higgins.
Here.
Ryan Prince.
Harrison.
Naresh Sugrim.
Here.
Rihanna McCurchin.
Present.
Dante Wilson.
Here.
Danwantri Prasad.
I'm here.
Sherian Mangro.
I.
Dishon Harris.
Aye.
Vashti Rambaran.
I.
Randy Diochan.
Aye.
Kalina Bulkan.
I.
Shania Straker.
I.
Anthony Bruce.
Aye.
Jose Clark.
Aye.
Leon Beaton.
Aye.
Nkosi Jupiter.
Aye.
Malkia Harris.
I.
Javon Sampson.
Aye.
Crystal Wills.
I.
Denzel Hill.
Aye.
Christine Richardson.
I.
Malika Russell.
I.
Christopher Best Roberts.
Aye.
Shania Eastman.
I.
Junan McCrae.
I.
Donley Costello.
Here.
Dimple Basdio.
I.
Karamchan Sugrim.
Aye.
Kimberly Smith.
I.
Arib Ali.
Present.
Carlito Williams.
Here.
Kijana Payne. Shikali Murray.
Present.
Latoya Bitoon.
I.
Calvin Roberts.
Aye.
Donald Richards.
Aye.
Ambika Singh.
Present.
Lochani Danraj.
Present.
Gavin Thomas.
Aye.
Isaiah Chand.
Aye.
Bibi Yase.
I.
Tahila Sobers.
I.
Tamira Reddy.
Here.
Renisha Narayan.
I.
And Delroy Marks.
I.
Honorable members, my first duty is in accordance with Standing Order Number 2 of the Standing Orders of the Youth Parliament of Guyana, to elect a person to be Speaker of the Assembly, and I accordingly invite nominations. The floor is open.
Mr. Clark, I propose Ms. Triana Anderson to be the Speaker for the senior category of the 7th Annual Youth Parliament.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Is there a seconder?
Mr. Clerk, I second the nomination by the Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Are there any further nominations for the position of Speaker? There being no further nominations, I therefore declare Ms. Triana Anderson duly elected Speaker of the senior category of the Assembly of the 7th Annual Youth Parliament of Guyana. I invite Ms. Anderson to come forward and to take the oath.
I, Triana Anderson, do hereby solemnly declare that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the people of Guyana, that I will faithfully execute the office of member of the 7th Annual Youth Parliament without fear or favor, affection or ill will, and that in the execution of functions of that office, I will honor, uphold, and preserve the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Made and subscribed by me before the 7th Annual Youth Parliament, this 17th of August, 2022. Please be seated. Honorable members, the oath will now be administered to members of the House by the Clerk of the Assembly. In order to save time, the Clerk will invite all honorable members to take the oath at the same time. Upon this invitation, you will stand, hold the religious book in your right hand. If you so wish, read your oath form, then sit and sign the form. Thank you.
I invite members to make and subscribe the oath. You may begin. Honorable members, you may be seated.
I invite the clerk to read the prayers. Please stand.
Almighty God, we who are here gathered together, do most humbly beseech thee to guide us in all our consultations, so that we may together build a land where knowledge is free, where the mind is without fear, and the head is held high, and where words come from the depth of truth. Grant us, O God, thine aid and guidance, so that we may deal justly with the several causes that come before us, laying aside all private interest, prejudice, and personal preferences, so that the result of our counsels may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion, the preservation of justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the President, and the peace and prosperity of Guyana. Grant us, O God, the vision so to lead that all the people of this fair land may enter into that state of brotherhood and unity, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action.
Please be seated.
Announcements by the Speaker.
Honorable members, with us today are honorable members of the National Assembly, Dr. Jennifer Westford and Ms. Sheila Veersamy, and former Member of Parliament, Mr. John Adams, who will serve as judges of the senior category of this year's Youth Parliament. There will be two best speakers a judge, one from the government and one from the opposition. Honorable members, we will now take the suspension to welcome the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly.
Honorable members, please remember to bow whenever the speaker bows.
Honorable members, please be seated. The sitting is resumed. Honorable Speaker Mansour Nadir, I am honored to welcome you today on behalf of the members of the senior category of the 7th Annual Youth Parliament. We are very much honored to be graced with your presence, which signals that youth empowerment is a vision of yours. Honorable Speaker, I invite you to address the Youth Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable members, the senior category of the 7th Youth Parliament, honorable members of the 12th Parliament of the Cooperative Republic, distinguished invitees, our staff. It's an honor for me, Madam Speaker, to address this 7th senior category of the Parliament, the Youth Parliament of Guyana. And in my address this morning to the members of Parliament, I would like to touch on issues at home in our country, in the region, wider afield, and outside of our planet. Because it is my view that all are interlinked. And as such, what we do affects everything else. In the past, when I was small, Madam Speaker, you heard elders say when there is a shortage of biscuits, someone will say, well, what does the price of tea in China have to do with the price of biscuit in Guyana? But believe me, today we all know all of it are so interlinked. Madam Speaker, first let me offer congratulations to you on your election as Speaker and to all the honorable members of Parliament for their election to this 7th Youth Parliament senior category. We are here for serious business. This is not just a model parliament for you to show off debating skills, fancy hairstyles, and great looking dressing. But we do have before us serious issues affecting your cohort and our country. And what are some of these issues? First, for me, the type of work we do. Even my 9-year-old, I have to sit next to him and watch him play video game because he has to get a cheer when he gets a victory. And then I am busy turning papers, and he says, "Bah, you have to work smart. You work too hard." But already in our lexion are the words that tell us we have to move rapidly with change. We have to predict change and work smart to make change work for us. We are masters of our own destiny. And if we are going to continue to be shaped rather than shapers, then we'll be left behind. But of the 400,000 persons considered as youth in Guyana, you represent a very small fraction. And sitting here today in the 7th Youth Parliament Senior category, it has to be an honor for you, because the views you express here will not only come out of research, but they come out of your own life experiences thus far. And so when I and our senior members of parliament and our former parliamentarians and our older leaders like myself listen to you, we can get an idea of where you're going to take our country. So I consider the business before you, Madam Speaker, and the members of parliament to be serious. How we work, how we apply technology. And in applying technology, when we enter the age of the Industrial Revolution, technology was about machinery. Today, it's much more than that. It's much more than that. And this morning at the junior category, I gave the example of the 2 Voyagers spacecrafts launched 40 years ago and are currently 13.5 billion miles away from us. And they're in opposite direction to so these 2 aircrafts are 27 billion miles apart, still controlled today from Earth, with signals taking 38 minutes from Earth to reach to them, and they're sending back signals every 38, sorry, not hours, but minutes to Earth. They're outside of our solar system, and they're way into interstellar space. And with the help of the James Webb Space Telescope, Hubble, the India Space Telescope, we are discovering so much about the universe and its impacts on us now. In fact, I was telling an older member of, I shouldn't say, an experienced member of parliament, only recently, who was complaining about the heat. And I recommended she watch a movie called Knowing, or Knowingly. And it's about a sun flare coming off the sun and hitting the earth. And extraterrestrial beings selecting persons and then coming to grab them before the earth is fried. It's not mumbo jumbo. It's not mumbo jumbo. All the honorable members here who did physics know it's about energy. 5 forms of energy, and energy is not created or destroyed, but just changes form. And it's all about energy. And so today we take our cell phones, hold it in our hands. I have my speech in my cell phone, right? But I have a chip in my brain that I can read it off without referring to this. It's something like the Google glasses, right? So, Madam Speaker, we can look at the cell phone and touch some buttons and speak to anyone, anywhere around the world. 40 years ago, these signals were created at NASA, and they control these 2 spacecraft. But some of our older religions will tell us it's energy. So when Panditji stands up and says Papatang, Swasatang, he is activating all of this energy flow by sound energy. Our hands tend to be motion, kinetic energy. But who is to doubt him? Who is to doubt that prophets went to heaven and back in 3 seconds? And it can happen. So, all of these things are happening around us because there have been smart people analyzing problems and digging deep to find solutions. So when we come to our small community, it's the same thing. At work, these are the same challenges. So your work as a member of parliament is twofold. Represent your group and at the same time educate your peers, because it's not a one-way street. So many times as we see things from outside, when you come inside, you understand the dynamics. So we have to make those who we represent understand all of the dynamics and not just one part of it. Many of us say that Guyana is rich today, and so I need some of my oil money now. Madam Speaker, yes. If there are only 10 cars in the country and each one of us get $1 million US more, we're just chasing with more money the same 10 cars, and here is the genesis of inflation. Here is the genesis of inflation. And so we all have more money, but none of us better off. So, Madam Speaker, we are an oil-producing country. The third floating production and storage vessel is about to leave the shipyard in Singapore to get to another shipyard to be outfitted. And in another 6 to 8 months, Guyana will probably be producing another 200,000 barrels of oil, making us perhaps the 8th largest producer in the world in just 10 short years. And yes, money is coming in. What do we do with that? The smart money will take some time to study the opportunities, to look at the changes, and to ensure that we can use this wealth to create more wealth and to secure a good life for this generation and generations to come. So the smart people will take the good money and multiply it tenfold with good decision making rather than reactive spending. And Madam Speaker, I challenge the honorable members to just tonight Google people who have won the lottery and are today highly indebted. And you will see this challenge I'm speaking of is not whimsical thinking. When people talk of the Dutch disease, where all wealth is concerned, it's experiences that are before us. Venezuela has almost 350 billion barrels of proven reserve, which is about 25 times what we have here in Guyana. And today, Guyana is a destination for people fleeing Venezuela. Madam Speaker, I said people fleeing Venezuela. I didn't say Venezuelans. And I'm very, very careful with the word I use, because the overwhelming majority of these people have direct connection to a Guyanese parent or relative. So soon, we have to be careful. We will see signs in businesses saying, "Se habla inglés." We speak English. But many of them are Guyanese. Many of them are Guyanese. And while we get our oil wealth, honorable members, I want to challenge you to be generous with your thinking to other people. Guyana has had its period of darkness and no democracy. And during that period, Guyanese sought refuge all around the world, especially at neighboring countries. In May, we had, Honorable Speaker, a training program for members of Parliament of the 12th Parliament of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And we invited a delegation from Suriname, the Surinamese Parliament, to come. And from that delegation, 2 of the members have roots in the quarantine, parents from the quarantine. So if you're in Nikeri and you do not have strong Guyanese link, you're not going to be elected. If you go to Antigua, Guyanese determine who will govern the country, because more than 15% of the voting population in Antigua are Guyanese. 45,000 Guyanese live in Puerto Ordaz and the surrounding areas in Venezuela. Brazil, Guyanese community, Wapishiana tribes have established their villages on the other side. And so, anybody from the Rupununi here? No? Nobody from the Rupununi? I see the mighty chief is shaking his head. You're from Rupununi, honorable member? But if you go to the Rupununi, honorable members, most of the people can speak Portuguese because of the interaction. So I know one word, obrigado. So this changing face of the people of Guyana is something which we're going to have to open our pockets and hearts to, because you can expect Guyanese from every single country, even if they don't want to come back to live here, they're going to come back to register children, register themselves. I understand the Honorable Former Minister is pushing hard that from next year, pensioners like me will get $50,000 a month. And 50,000 by 12 is 600,000. That gives me a first-class ticket and back to New York. Simple as that. Simple as that. So right now we have 42,000 pensioners, Honorable Speaker, and with that kind of money available to collect, you could easily see that going to 55,000. But this change is coming because, honorable members, you are in a great position to represent the people, young people, women, and shape a better future for them because of what you have at your doorstep. Guyana has been the only country to gain significantly from its forest resources in terms of carbon capture. And the carbon market that will develop in the world will be bigger than oil. Will be bigger than oil. Our first production vessel, we counted $300 million a year in oil revenues. But from one country, from one small project, Guyana got 250 million US dollars over 5 years for preservation of the forest. And so I raise that because as we become an oil producing nation, we are going to have duties and responsibilities to the entire earth in terms of climate change. And this is another issue you're going to have to put before you as you deliberate during this session of your parliament and as you go on to more important positions as you progress in life. Climate change. And I asked our junior category this morning, those of you who know the seawall, look and see how the seawall has changed from the Russian embassy going all the way to Ogle. That extra foot that is on the seawall was put there almost 10 years ago because of overtopping. So when people talk about rising sea level and climate change, we are seeing it at our doorsteps now. And the forestry resources, including carbon capture, is going to be a big issue to deliberate on. Every single conference we go to today, and we are shortly to attend the next one in Halifax, climate change is an issue. But for you, it's not just politicians adding to global warming by spouting hot air, and you will do that for yourself in the next 2 days here. But there's an action agenda. Over $100 billion will be committed next year to fight climate change by countries who can afford it. And it's expected that climate change will occupy a market of $160 trillion by 2050. So those of you who have kids, environmental studies will be bigger than petroleum. Bigger than petroleum. So, Madam Chair, this is where our honorable members and you will lead this 7th Parliament and your nation. And it is an honor for me this afternoon to stand here with my years of sitting right here. Forget I don't have gray hair. I use putty and paint. I remember putty and paint make the devil a saint. So these are the challenges. It's an honor for me to say a few words to the senior category of the 7th Youth Parliament of Guyana. May you have great arguments, successful resolutions, and more importantly, build friendships that can serve you for the rest of your life. Muchas gracias, obrigado, thank you.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for your insightful words and encouragement. On behalf of everyone present here, I extend appreciation to you for taking the time to be here with us. The Assembly is now suspended, honorable members, for the departure of His Honor, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Mansour Nadir.
we mean to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Big mistake. Cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time of night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Big mistake. Cause we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one grass, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time when night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one grass, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Big mistake. Cause we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one grass, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time when night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one grass, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karaj, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Big mistake. Cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karaj, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time when though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karaj, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karaj, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karaj, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Big mistake. Cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karaj, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time when though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass.
The sitting is resumed. Please be seated. Thank you. Mr. Clerk?
Presentation of petitions, presentation of papers and reports, reports from committees, oral questions without notice, questions on notice, statements by ministers, including policy statements, personal explanations, requests for leave to move the adjournment of the Assembly on definite matters of urgent public importance, motions relating to the business or sittings of the Assembly and moved by a minister, introduction of bills, public business, government's business, motions.
Honorable members, the first motion stands in the name of the Honorable Minister of Health, Honorable Minister Gavin Thomas. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I struggled. Many of my friends and relatives are struggling. Many of us in this noble house might be struggling. Struggling with what, you might ask? Mental health issues. Honorable members, it is my privilege to introduce the motion in my name titled Mental Health Services in the Education System. Madam Speaker, for some individuals, mental health is now a cliche, an exhausted issue. And for some, it's still taboo, or as the youth would say, what is a mental health? We don't do that here. The government of all the people is aware that mental health is the foundation of the overall well-being and effective functioning of every individual in our society. Members of this assembly, might I also remind you that mental health is more than the absence of mental disorders, but rather it is the ability to critically think, learn, and control emotions. Members on the opposite side, this motion is more than pleasantries or finger pointing of what should have done or who should have done what. It's mere formality. Since, how can someone with a sane and conscious mind go against or abstain from a motion that will seek to ensure that everyone in this beautiful land of ours live to the best of their potential, with a healthy body and a healthy mind? If you can't get it, then maybe this is the motion for you. Madam Speaker, WHO published that globally 1 in 7 10 to 19-year-old experienced mental health issues, accounting for 40%. Yet, it remains unrecognized and untreated. A UNICEF study in 2021 in Guyana also revealed that 30% of individuals aged 15 to 19 had no one to share their problems with. How sad. The Ministry of Health back in 2016 also noted that 78,000 to 114,000 documented Guyanese, I said documented Guyanese, are suffering from a mental disorder and require some level of mental care. Members, it is not my intent to overwhelm you with statistics, or would I hide away from the fact that there is greater need to place emphasis on mental health issues on all levels in our country. And as your Minister of Health, I therefore take it a personal responsibility to ensure that we all do better, improve on what is already there, and even remove some policies if needs be. Even recently, the Mental Health Protection and Promotion Bill was tabled and passed in this very House. Budgetary allocation made to improve the mental health care system in Guyana. This, Madam Speaker, is what this motion seeks to bridge the gaps that currently exist. And as noted, the government is doing so in a collaborative manner, in a community approach, if you might say. Therefore, it is our aim to work together, the different ministries, to ensure the actualization of these programs and policies. This, my colleagues will eloquently share our plans and visions with you later. Madam Speaker, this motion, again, seeks to offer help to students of all levels of learning, the educators, auxiliary staff, parents, and guardians. So it's not only about the students, but everyone who needs help, everyone who needs that pause. As a health expert, I understand fully that in order to treat a condition, we need to identify the root cause, or what we call the health determinants, and deal with that before we can move on. So that is what we are seeking to do as a government. With appropriate psychosocial interventions, we can empower persons who are suffering silently to stand up, to get up, and to seek help, and we will provide that help. Members on the opposite side, you might be asking, but how can we deal with the patient load with the lack of mental health professionals in the system currently? Again, if you look at the motion, this motion seeks to build that gap. It seeks to fill a gap by training professionals who are already in the system, and for the professionals who are already in the system, we're upgrading their qualification, and we're inviting persons to get into the mental health profession.
Honorable Minister Gavin Thomas, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. Thereby having more mental health professionals in the system. Now, I find it very hypocritical if anyone in this noble house who is here to represent and help everyone, the people of this country, to disapprove of such plans. The current mental health unit and the Ministry of Health is always seeking to improve the quality of life for all, whether it be by the decentralization of services, effective referral system, proficient hotline systems, or community engagement. Madam Speaker, I struggled. It was that dreadful Sunday evening, March 12th. I had my research due. I had case studies. I had personal challenges. They all came rolling in on me, demanding of me. Members, did you ever hear the saying, "UG does broke you"? Well, there I was having a mental breakdown. No one to talk to, no one to listen to me, losing hope, questioning my abilities and my goals. Learned members, how much more of our children, our adults, are we going to allow to fall by the wayside simply because we cannot agree to a motion put forward to help all? This vicious cycle is one that we must rid of. And as the good saying goes, prevention is better than cure. And that is definitely what we're seeking to do. I thereby extend the hand to each and every one of you to be a part of this change, be a part of this cure, be a part of this prevention. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I now call on Honorable Minister Nkosi Jupiter, Shadow Minister of Health, to make his presentation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Not until we are lost do we begin to truly understand ourselves. By Henry David. Nadine Jacobs, Ronaldo Singh, Sabrina Major, Tony Walker, and Ruth Atkins are just a handful of Guyanese that our mental health system has failed. Madam Speaker, today the government is dressed in dark, solemn colors to mourn the death of our Guyanese brothers and sisters that have been lost to this system, and also the incompetence presented by the government today. Madam Speaker, mental health permits people to cope with life stressors, realize their strengths, and contribute to society. It supports our individual and communal capacity to make decisions from connections and shape our reality. All Guyanese should have access to mental health care. Let me repeat that one more time. All Guyanese should have access to mental health care. We, the honorable members of the opposition, believe that mental disorders and psychosocial disabilities, as well as other mental states associated with significant stress, should be given equal weight. Anxiety disorders, phobias, bipolar disorders, eating disorders, personality disorders, and psychiatric diseases such as schizophrenia are often disregarded. Mental health should not be solely defined by poor emotional health that would lead to suicide or depression. Madam Speaker, we, the honorable members of the opposition, do not entirely agree with all that is being said by the government. In the first Be It Resolved, it states, increasing funds towards mental health training and education in Guyana's education sector. Why would we want to increase funds towards this when we can actually tackle the problem from the root? Emotional skills, substance abuse, and genetics can increase mental illness, poverty, violence, inequality, and environmental factors all increase mental illness. It makes no sense that we treat all the signs and symptoms that we see and not tackle it from the roots. After all, isn't prevention better than cure? Madam Speaker, the opposition was flabbergasted when the Honorable Health Minister proposed increasing funding to the mental health education in his first motion. Let me explain something to you. Psychologists and psychiatric study takes between 8 to 10 years. That means we have at least 8 years to see results. Do you think that Guyanese mental health should suffer for 8 years? Of course not. And don't even think about proposing any watered-down 2 weeks training for our Guyanese brothers and sisters. But please do not get me wrong. We definitely need these psychologists and psychiatrists. However, when they're away, we still need solutions. An alternative to this is the training provided by the World Health Organization, and it is called the Certified Mental Health Gap Action Program, also known as MHGAP. The MHGAP Intervention Guide helps non-specialists manage mental, neurological, and drug use disorders. This tool was built for non-specialized healthcare practitioners after being tailored for emotional and local needs. Healthcare personnel will be educated to identify priority conditions, and we don't have to wait for it to get very worse to send them to the National Psychiatric Hospital. They'll educate families and caregivers and detect and treat stable conditions. Healthcare practitioners can also treat these signs that we see every day: depression, self-harm, suicide, psychosis, drug and alcohol disorders, epilepsy, and even dementia.
Honorable Minister Nkosi, you have 40 minutes more remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mental health
seconds.
is a complex continuum with varied degrees of difficulty, suffering, and clinical results. As most Guyanese love to say, we beg and we got sense. So we, the honorable members of the opposition, beg and got sense. And I'm pretty sure you, the honorable members of the government, beg and got sense too. So let's take our senses, put them together so that we could get the best solution for all of our Guyanese. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Nkosi Jupiter. I now call on Honorable Leon Beaton, Shadow Minister of Education. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable members on the government side, You can't counsel a child on an empty stomach. And with that being said, I rise in this honorable house to disparage this injustice that this government is doing to this very important topic, that is mental health in education. Now we must say, I agree with the force whereas clause in this motion that speaks to acknowledging the importance of mental health in individuals. However, Madam Speaker, the honorable members on the government side seem to be big fans of reacting. Since every be it resolved clause in this motion speaks to reacting to issues in mental health, now what about being proactive? What about dealing with the underlying issues that cause mental health? Underlying issues such as poverty, which leads to hunger, and sadly, which leads to depression. Madam Speaker, in my presentation, I will focus on poverty and how it impacts mental health in the education system. Now, according to the United Kingdom Mental Health Foundation, there is a strong correlation between poverty and mental health. In fact, this source went on to posit that poor people and children from low socioeconomic households are 4.5 times more likely to develop severe mental health issues. Madam Speaker, I hope the honorable members on the government side are listening. Permit me to repeat this information just so that it sinks in the honorable member's head. There's a strong correlation between poverty and mental health, and poor people are 4.5 times more likely to develop severe mental health issues. Now let me give you some statistics about this beautiful country that we call Guyana. Now, according to United Nations Children's Fund in 2022, while Guyana as a country may be rising to stardom because of our newfound wealth, which is oil, 43.4% of the population live in poverty. So, Madam Speaker, this means that 43.4% of the people in the country are 4.5 times more likely to develop severe mental health issues. And yet we wonder why Guyana has such a high suicide rate. Now, this 43.4% has serious implications to the education system. This means there are so many students in our school going to school hungry on an empty stomach. And yet the honorable members on the government side want to counsel these hungry children. Now these children are hungry. No amount of theory, no amount of talking about your feelings, no amount of counseling will help these children. These children need food. And I hope none of the honorable members on the government side will come and tell me about the $2 billion that were budgeted for the National School Feeding Program. Because, Madam Speaker, this program was only for nursery and primary school students. So I guess the students from the 116 secondary schools that we have across the length and breadth of this country, I guess they're probably robots and they can't feel hungry. Now, if we in this honorable house are indeed serious about mental health, then this program needs to be implemented in each and every single school in this country, from Queen's College to Port Kaituma to Monkey Mountain, each and every single school. Honorable members, this will, however, only deal with the issue from Monday to Friday. As we know, hunger still exists on the weekend. So I'm proposing to the government, in addition to this national school feeding program, we implement the distribution of food stamps to each parent with school-age children. This will ensure that the children and parents have something nutritious to eat on the weekend.
Honorable Member, you have 1 minute more remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, Madam Speaker, to conclude my presentation, there is evidence and research to show the severe impact that poverty has on mental health. I strongly suggest that the honorable members on the government side take the points presented here seriously. And let's be 21st century politicians. Let's go back to the drawing board together as government and opposition and make the necessary amendments to this motion. And I call on the right-thinking members in this honorable house to internalize the evidence presented and vote with a conscience. We cannot pass this motion as it is. This will be doing the children, the parents, and all the stakeholders in education a grave injustice. Let's get it right, honorable members. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now call on Honorable Member Lochini Danaraj, Minister of Education. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. School child in Madhya commits suicide. 30 children attempted suicide in the first half of 2021. UG physics lecturer dies by suicide. Wow. If these headlines are not alarming enough to recognize that there is an underlying mental health problem here in Guyana, then I don't know what will. According to the World Health Organization, Guyana has one of the highest rates of suicide per capita around the world. The honorable members of the opposition may want to say that the high cost of living and the mediocre salaries and wages are a bigger problem. But let me put this into context for you. Imagine living in a luxurious mansion, living a luxurious life with every material thing there is to want. But you still don't feel happy. You still don't feel fulfilled. Is this a life worth living? This is a question many people ask themselves daily. There are so many of us walking around with smiles on our faces, pretending that everything is all right while we are in mental anguish. According to the Mental Health Unit in 2020, 1 in 5 persons in Guyana suffer from mental health issues. Madam Speaker, how long will we continue to neglect the issue of mental health? Honorable members of the opposition, should we wait until the suicide rate increases? Are we looking to score an A in suicide rate by achieving 75%? Madam Speaker, as the Minister of Education, I will be focusing on how mental health issues affect those in the education system, specifically the educational institutions. Now, the main purpose of the educational institutions is to produce productive citizens in society. Given this unbelievably high suicide rate in our country, the schools are definitely not fulfilling this purpose. Therefore, we need to appoint trained professionals in our schools. We need psychologists who are equipped with the necessary knowledge and skills to help students deal with their mental health issues that they are suffering from. I know we all love to say that teachers play the role as parents, doctors, judges, and counselors. But Madam Speaker, it's time for our teachers to stop playing the role that they are clearly not trained for. The opposition may want to say that the CPC and UG courses such as life skills education, guidance and counseling, and adolescent and child psychology will prepare teachers and other educators to deal with their learners' mental health issues. However, please be aware that these courses only equip teachers to identify and address these minor issues and then refer them to the specialists. And whose doorstep do we end up at once again? The psychologists. Our teachers are not psychologists. Madam Speaker, this is the reality of our education sector as it relates to mental health. We also cannot forget about our educators' mental health. They are human beings too. According to Mental Health America, teaching is rated as one of the most stressful professions in the world. Madam Speaker, UNICEF posited that the stress level for many teachers increased during the pandemic. Even now in Guyana, teachers who desire to upgrade their status by attending UG have to do so after school. Now,
Honorable Member, you have 1 minute more remaining.
thank you very much. Now imagine, as a teacher, walking up and down dealing with students' issues all day, teaching from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and then having to attend your own classes from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. After that, you still need to prepare lessons for the next day. And oh gosh, don't forget the assignments. Yours plus your students. And oh my goodness, don't forget those teachers who have their children and their families to take care of. I wonder how they're going to do all of this. Honorable Shadow Minister of Education, can't you see that this is a mental breakdown waiting to happen? Should we wait until our teachers reach this state and involuntarily resign before we appoint psychologists in the school systems? What is that I hear? Yes? Yes, we need to act now. The teachers and students in Guyana are so desperately in need of help. The unpreparedness of schools to deal with the mental health issues reflect in the country's suicide rate. You would not go to a dentist if you have a problem with your eyes. Therefore, we need psychologists and counselors in all our regions and sub-regions throughout Guyana in each and every one of our educational institutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now call on the Honorable Member Danwantri Prasad, Shadow Minister of Human Services and Social Security, to make her presentation.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, mental health is not a destination, but a process. It's about how you drive, not where you're going. Dr. Noam Spencer. I rise this afternoon to add my voice towards the motion under consideration. I listen and listen again. Clearly, the government is on an exploration like Dora, but ended up being Nemo, so we all have to help them find their way. Madam Speaker, there is no doubt that Guyana needs to undergo massive transformation within the mental health sector. We, on this side, came with an open mind to extend full support from the undisputed standpoint that Guyana's current mental health is outmoded, deficient, and inadequate to address the challenges of our society. Instead, we are presented with a motion that is ill-conceived and clearly hastily prepared. This, I warn, will lead us down a path which will bring more harm than good. I concurred, as stated within the motion, that mental health is the foundation of the overall well-being and effective functioning of individuals within a society. It is for this reason that my absolute disappointment took birth, because I have to ask again, has there been any critical thinking in shaping this motion? From the onset, let me remind this House that mental health is not an issue that can be addressed when it is convenient to do so, nor should it be an issue addressed in a piecemealer manner. This motion lacks strategic thinking, it lacks consideration for measurable goals, it lacks the scope for data and research. As a minimal, it lacks the basic apparatus that will see the issue being addressed in a long-term and holistic manner. As such, I bring recommendations for implementing specialized mental health care as a long-term solution. Far too often, numerous plans run for a period of time and then suffer a sudden death. Then the cycle of funding, implementation, death of projects, and funding repeats. While we sadly continue to lose more of our kids who have lost their battles with mental health issues, Stabrook News reported on the 10th of September 2021 stated that 30 children attempted suicide in the first half of 2021. It added that 19 of the suicides in 2021 were by persons between the ages of 5 and 19, with the regions 3, 4, and 6 accounted for the largest number of those deaths. We see a motion, unfortunately, that speaks to no robust program for these regions. Instead, they are bundled, generic in nature, and treated as every other region. Our actions must be driven by data, and there ought to be special programs to deal with the epicenters for mental health in Guyana. As such, we wish to see more collaboration in keeping in the American Counseling Center model. Collaborate to address the mental health needs of students, not only with NGOs, but develop a program that will See participation from faith-based organizations to local government bodies. This motion fails to even give consideration to the recovery model in mental health care, which is a person-centered, holistic approach. Have you thought about a mental health commission? Have you thought about offering specialized training for teachers? Have you thought about providing incentives to teachers who are offering these services? Have you thought about training community leaders? Exactly. No, you have not.
Honorable Member, you have 40 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Where is your model that is guiding your policy position? This, Madam Speaker, I conclude the motion under consideration in its current shape and form will pave the way for the continued implementation of failed projects. Given the government's track records of failing to execute its own policies, one can imagine the gigantic failure this will be. For the government side, it seems that mental health, as viewed by many, is a Cinderella style of low priority, underfunded, and not deserving of advocacy. Regrettably, we are in the same boat again. It's an injustice to come to this honorable house without a proper plan to solve an issue you claim to be so dear to your government's heart. In closing, let me remind you of the words of Benjamin Franklin. Well done is better than well said. I put forward this motion for further consultation. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now call on Honorable Member Kimberly Smith, Minister of Human Services and Social Security, to make her presentation.
The infamous Maya Angelou said, "We are only as blind as we want to be." Well, today I stand before you in this honorable house. Pardon me. Well, today I stand before you with 2020 vision because I am aware of the importance of mental health services in the education system. Members of the opposition, let me wipe your lens as I enlighten you about why mental health services in the education system is essential. More than 30% of Guyana's population, whether working or studying, are involved in the education system. With the COVID-19 pandemic, now more than ever, educators, students, parents, guardians, and even auxiliary staff are mentally struggling. In the recent Mental Health Protection and Promotion Bill that was passed in the National Assembly on the 8th of August 2022, the Honorable Minister of Health said that 15 to 20% of Guyanese have some form of mental health illness. With a population of 794,562, that means that 121,309 to 161,745 Guyanese are struggling with mental health issues. According to the United Nations Cultural, Scientific, and Economical Organization, that is more than 30.33% of Guyana's population are children, teenagers, and adolescents. This is not inclusive of the 10,000 educators and many auxiliary staff in the education system. In July of 2020, UNICEF Guyana collaborated with the Ministry of Health to do a survey on the impact COVID-19 had and is still having on the mental health and wellness of all Guyanese. From the survey, 44.4% of adolescents responded that they were frequently anxious. 34.1% said that they were regularly depressed. 34.8% said that they withdrew from others. And 25.2% said that they consider acts of self-harm. Guyana is well known as a land of many waters. And with 39.9% of adolescents crying often, how can Guyana not be? Madam Speaker, are you hearing this? And anxiety, depression, social isolation, and suicidal tendencies. These are beyond cries for help. Guyanese children, teenagers, and adolescents are bowed down for help. But they're not the only one. According to the Research and Development Cooperation, teachers are twice as likely to experience symptoms of depression as any other adults. According to Article 25 of the International Declaration of Human Rights, states that everyone has the right to readily available and easily accessible medical care. However, that is not the situation in the education system. Does that mean that Guyanese in the education system does not deserve these basic human rights? As the Minister of Social Services and Social Security, I am ready to pave the way for the next step in advancement. I am proposing the facilitation of mental health awareness and outreach programs in all education institutions in our country, whether primary, secondary, or tertiary, private, or public, in all 11 educational districts in our country. Once per month, certified and trained, emphasis on trained, mental health professionals will visit educational institutions, and they would provide not only counseling sessions, but also they will have one-on-one sessions with teachers and all of the learners in the system so that they can be aware, like the honorable member Nkosi said, they need to figure out the root cause of these problems. Who are better to figure out the root cause of these problems than psychologists in the system? Ms. Danwantri, you said that...
Honorable member, you have 1 minute more remaining.
Thank you. You said that in order for us to figure out the best possible solution, we need teachers to be trained. If you kept up with the times, you would realize that recently the government has trained teachers, but that's not what we're here to debate. We are here to debate that our education system requires mental health services. And like my Honorable Minister of Education said, teachers are not trained nor capable to do this. All they can do with the little training they have is refer them to psychologists. Once again, we need psychologists. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now call on Honorable Member Shania Straker, Shadow Minister of Amerindian Affairs, to make her presentation.
I would like to thank the government for truly highlighting the issue under consideration. They have beautifully highlighted their incompetence or failure to act. We are aware of the problem. We want to discuss solutions. Madam Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, unwavering, I, Shania Straker, stand here to address the motion at hand. Famous Guyanese term goes to say, don't beat around the bush, and I agree. I say let's walk right through it. In the words of the Tusho of Batavia Village, I would say that it's the unemployment level that causes depression within our village. Mental health is a key factor that needs to be addressed in Guyana. But for us to just stand and say we need more mental facilities, better training opportunities for mental health workers, without assessing the genesis of the situation is very detrimental, one would say. According to Indigenous War Guyana, dated 24th April 2019, the high level of formal unemployment is a consequence of low quality of schooling, itself caused by the poor quality of housing for teachers and the poor prospects of promotions for teachers within hinterland locations. Youths leaving secondary school often do not have the academic grades, even for entry-level positions. Informal employment with private sector or government agencies. As stated above, the level of unemployment is caused by poor schooling. And why is this? Teachers are not given proper opportunities in hinterland regions. Youths don't even have entry position academic grades. Furthermore, my personal investigations with young medical doctor reveals that being a graduate from the University of Guyana, the average wage is $108,000. Someone who at least studied 5 years in tertiary level education. Oh my, what to be of those who didn't even gain academic grades? According to United Nations Children Fund 2022, 43.4% of people in Guyana survive on less than $1,150 per day. Imagine a family of 4 surviving on this money, especially with the ongoing grocery prices. And we all know the hinterland is well known for doubling that price in the market. It's a wonder why these people are depressed. Madam Speaker, improper schooling, unemployment. Is it not obvious that this is a major factor for mental health issues within the education system? And the government stands here proposing mental facilities. As sore as Guyanese say, should be attacked from the root. Common sense can tell you that at the end of the day, if you don't give the people what they need, eradicate their economic problems, you can counsel them all you want, but the situation will go back to square one. It is well known by now that Guyana has one of the highest suicide rates per capita. But have we asked ourselves which region or set of individuals are more likely to commit suicide in our country? According to an article published by William Rawlins, stated that records that were requested from the Ministry of Public Services show that approximately 70% of the country's suicide occur in rural regions. It goes on to say,
Honorable Member, you have 1 minute more remaining.
Thank you. That in these communities, persons turn to alcohol and self-harm to cope with their feelings of hopelessness, poverty, and economic despair. Poverty and economic despair? Madam Speaker, it's the individuals in these situations that are committing suicide. Can we not see the pattern here? Address the unemployment level, address the improper schooling, address the poverty level, give teachers in hinterland regions better opportunities, and from there, we can move to other viable solutions. With that said, I shall now take my seat. Madam Speaker, and give the government a chance to think about what they brought to us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now call on Honorable Member Dimple Basdio. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of the motion, Mental Health Services in the Education System. According to 2009 report published by the United Nations Human Rights Council on the critical role of the social detriments of mental health, it elaborated and focused on the key role that economic, psychosocial, political, and physical environment has in enabling a person to live in dignity, in rights, and in equitable pursuit of their potential. Madam Speaker, there is no health without mental health. And good mental health means much more than the absence of mental impairment. Madam Speaker, my government has made scholarships more accessible to every citizen and continues to do so through its transformative agenda to have an educated workforce and to more so foster partnerships with multiple universities to provide topical programs to meet the socio-economic needs of Guyana. Programs ranging from certificates to PhD levels, such as guidance to women empowerment and even youth development work. The primary objective is to deliver 20,000 scholarships by 2025 through a collaboration of agencies, including the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Public Service. This figure significantly exceeds the 6,280 scholarships awarded in 2021. The honorable members on the other side, we need specialized and trained social workers and psychologists who have experience and formal training with adolescent development. I acknowledge the fact that there are welfare officers attached to every region, but in majority of these cases, that are processed by these officers are post-conflict. As they say, prevention is better than cure, and yes, we intend to prevent every single issue that occurs to a child. Madam Speaker, if we can support one child per school with any issue that they may be faced with, that will still be a win for our society. School counselors and therapists will be able to observe and interact with students on a day-to-day basis, and their offices will be open to every student to enter. These counselors will be able to provide necessary guidance to students, academic, mental health, and otherwise. I can't stress enough how I, alongside my other colleagues, wish we had someone to talk to when we felt down or unsure. Some teachers assisted, but they still lack that professional training as a counselor or a therapist. As such, their advice came from their instinct and experience rather than professionalism and facts. We should not allow our children to slip through the cracks because of this. Schools are one of the most important social institutions of society, and our children are the future of this country. It is about time that we invest in our future, and Guyana more so. Student Counselor Organization states a 250-to-1 ratio of students to school counselors, given that most high schools in Guyana have an average of 800 to 900 students. There is a need for at least 4 to 5 counselors per school in order to have sufficient ratio of students to counselors. And with more counselors, we're also increasing our labor force and in turn providing more jobs. A win-win situation, if you ask me. With the enactment of this legislation, my government intends on building contemporary and functional health facilities in every administrative region. Madam Speaker, the famous psychologist Abraham Maslow emphasizes that the highest level of needs relates to self-actualization, a process by which we achieve our full potential. Self-actualizing people have both efficient perception of reality and more comfortable relations with it. It is our vision of a Guyana 2030. Achieving a utopia will require self-actualized citizens, and with these mechanisms, that will be put into play with this motion.
Honourable Member, you have 50 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We will definitely be able to achieve a new and improved Guyana. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. To conclude the debate, I now call on Honourable Gavin Thomas, Minister of Health. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If you had listened to my intro, I said this motion is not about pleasantries and pointing fingers, who should have, what should have. But this afternoon, we had a lot of pointed fingers. But yet, the members on the other side could not agree with this motion. All it did was point fingers. A lot of people use a lot of proverbs. There's this one, moon does run till they catch 'em. It's familiar, huh? Mental health issue is one moon we don't want to keep running. We want to be the day. We want to let mental health pack its straps and get out. I must commend the members for proposing brilliant ideas, for putting up a fight in a sense. But it really saddens my heart that even though most of the honorable members agree that we have an issue, they can't seem to agree for us to move this motion. Sympathy to the friends and family of those we lost, as highlighted by the Shadow Minister of Health, who then spoke of the incompetence, and this is a common theme, the incompetence of the mental health care system. We did agree with this, but you not agreeing or you not allowing this motion to pass today is you adding to that incompetence. Several of the presenters also spoke of the mental health care access for all. If you are listening carefully, honorable members, that's what this motion speaks to. Access to mental health care services to all. There's 11 school districts. There's schools everywhere, all parts, the ends of Guyana, and that is what we proposing. There, we spoke not only about students, about teachers, about parents. Basically, we're looking at the nucleus of our society, and that's where we want to tackle. It seems like we had common themes throughout many speeches, so I don't need to go them one by one. Many presenters spoke about, we investing in facilities and all these things, and I somehow didn't get that they're saying that this is good. But what they are proposing is that we should look at the root cause. But again, members, in my presentation, which I think I did relatively good, I spoke about looking at the root causes, the determinants of health. Do you remember that word? Determinants of health. I spoke about that. So we had the honorable members listing poverty and other determinants. We had substance abuse. But if you had listened to the presentation by my honorable member, the Minister of Social Security, Social Services, Ms. Smith, she spoke in depth about the root causes and the determinants. So, members, I appeal with you. That is what we are also saying, that we need to look at the root causes. We had another minister spoke about wages, and honorable member, the motion is speaking about mental health issues, mental health care. There's a time and place for everything. We are agreeing that, like highlighted, there's many determinants again.
Honorable member, you have 50 seconds remaining, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I end this presentation, as I end previously, I am extending a hand to you, all of you in this house, to let us be that change. Let us be that prevention. Let's curb mental health issues in our country. We can have a talk about it. Let's pass this motion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. That concludes the debate on the motion. I now put the question. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. No. The noes have it. The motion is negative.
Madam Speaker, I show division.
Division, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Members, I'll now call your names and ask you to vote in accordance with your views. Ronaldo Higgins.
No.
Ryan Prince. Naresh Sugrim.
No.
Rihanna McCurchin.
No.
Dante Wilson.
No.
Danwantri Prasad.
No.
Sherry Ann Mangru.
No.
Deshaun Harris.
No.
Vashti Rambaran.
No.
Randy Diochan.
No, no, no.
Kalini Bulkan.
No.
Shania Straker.
No.
Anthony Bruce.
No.
Jose Clark.
No.
Leon Beaton.
No, no, no.
And Kosi Jupiter.
No.
Malkia Harris.
No.
Javon Sampson.
No.
Crystal Wills.
No.
Denzel Hill.
No.
Christine Richardson.
No.
Malika Ross.
A conscious vote says no.
Christopher Best Roberts.
Yes.
Shania Eastman.
Yes, yes, yes.
Junan McCrae.
Yes.
Donnell Costello.
Yes.
Dimple Basdio.
Yes.
Karamchan Sugrim.
Yes.
Kimberly Smith.
Yes.
Ari Bali.
A conscious vote says yes.
Carlito Williams.
Yes, yes, yes.
Carlito Williams. Shaquille Murray. Sorry. Kijana Payne. Shaquille Murray.
Yes.
Latoya Butane.
Yes.
Calvin Roberts.
Yes.
Donald Richards.
Yes.
Ambika Singh.
Yes.
Lochani Danraj.
Yes.
Gavin Thomas.
Yes.
Isaac.
Honorable members, please maintain order.
Isaiah Chand.
Yes.
Bibi Yassin.
Yes.
Tahila Sobars.
Yes.
Tamira Reddy.
Yes.
Renisha Narai.
Yes.
Delroy Marks.
Yes to better mental health service in our country.
Madam Speaker, 23 members voted in favor of the motion, 22 members voted against the motion, and 0 members abstained.
Honorable members, the motion is carried. Honorable members, the next motion stands in the name of the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. Honorable Minister Kijana Payne, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon, members of Parliament. Madam Speaker, as the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, I am here to tell you what my ministry and other supporting ministries on the government side can do to make Guyana a better place. To make us more of one people, one nation, and one destiny. The motion that I will be moving today is developing and promoting tourism in Guyana. As St. Augustine quoted, the world is like a book, and those who do not travel read only one page. Or as Marcel Proust quoted, the real voyage of discovery consists in not seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. And as such, members of Parliament, this motion focuses whereas Guyana is a developing country and possesses a negative balance of payment, with a development of tourism in Guyana, this can cause a significant increase of foreign currency. Whereas the government acknowledges that Guyana's oil will become limited in the next few decades. Addition to that, our natural resources are becoming scarce. Whereas in Guyana, very few communities are known for harnessing the power of their cultural history of Guyana, whether tangible or intangible. The power, intangible or intangible. And there are inadequate amount of facilities to promote all cultures of Guyana. The question lies, what can we do to make things better? Before we discuss those points, let's elaborate. In Guyana, the cost of living is very high, which decreases the standard of living for citizens in our country. Honorable Speaker, An article in Chronicle News written just on March 20th, 2022 states, and I quote, "Recently, Guyanese have been complaining about the recent hike in the prices of basic commodities. This debates on how persons are going to survive on a daily basis." Secondly, Madam Speaker, our natural resources are decreasing because of the overpopulation and less effective use of these resources. Guyana natural resources becoming limited. It sounds crazy, but it's hitting in reality. However, the tourism industry is here to support. Additionally, culture is a broad topic for centuries, and here in Guyana, we are lacking avenues that can provide more programs of cross-culture, of being tourist attraction, not just internationally, but also locally for the citizens of this country. Wouldn't you want to know more about your culture, Madam Speaker, members of Parliament? They say Guyana is the land of many waters, but we are also the land of 6 people. Members of Parliament, listen to me carefully. First and foremost, the National Assembly hereby makes a commitment to create paved truck pathways in the hinterland regions so that entrepreneurships, investors, small business owners can readily access these regions. Consequently, tourist awareness of these areas will increase. Small businesses owners will also be given greater exposure and opportunities, and profit will increase for our foreign currency intake. This will contribute into increasing our gross national product and per capita income. And because of such quintessential action, it is obvious that this will reduce the cost of living along with a significant net improvement on the standard of living. Concerning our natural resources being limited, the tourism industry can make sure that these resources are being used efficient and effectively by providing or contributing into more infrastructure and land so that more agriculture can be done, and also used for more economic purposes with other CARICOM countries in terms of bargaining and trade with our Caribbean family, and also to develop tourist attraction in the hinterland communities to attract tourism and businesses. And here we are at the broad topic, culture. We can plant a sense of cultural exchange between foreigners and citizens.
Honorable member, you have 55 seconds remaining.
Thank you. It can be defined that cross-cultural communication awareness is a foundation of communication that involves the ability of standing back from ourselves and becoming aware of cultural values, beliefs, and perception. Madam Speaker, the National Assembly therefore restates its commitment to provide avenues for different cultures, purposes, cross-culture activities through all 11 administrative regions. According to the article Mongabe, that Guyana is one of the ranking countries for the Earth's most biodiverse countries on the planet, with a statistical report of 7.9% of different species of birds, 2% of forestry, and also a biodiversity index of 0.214, and a ranking of 31st base. Did you know? I bet you didn't. And here we are to develop that, to showcase and to say, yes, our country is the best. And with all that has been said, Madam Speaker, members of Parliament, I present to you the motion developing and promoting tourism in Guyana. We got a message. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The motion is proposed. I now call on Honorable Member Vashti Rambaran, Shadow Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, to make her presentation.
Madam Speaker, honorable members of the government, fellow educated members of the opposition, greetings all. The presentation of the government's motion to develop and promote tourism in hinterland communities is first and foremost noble and commendable. It reveals that at least, if nothing else, that my honorable colleagues on the other side is grappling with the deeper issues that pervade the everyday patriotic hinterland dwellers. I would be the first to admit that these considerations are quite justified, but I strongly believe that the resolutions made fall short of a more holistic and comprehensive approach to address the issue at hand. Permit me, Madam Speaker, to pinpoint a major flaw in the government's motion and suggest improvement, or rather additions that can be made to deliver what we believe is more viable, sensible, and sustainable tourism development programs. The major flaw in the government's motion is a non-recognition of the high cost for transportation to hinterland communities and the lack of dependable road and bridge networks, which can present a hindrance to tourists and businesses visiting the hinterland communities. Newsroom, February the 9th, 2021. I quote, "To showers complain about high cost to travel," end of quote. Now imagine a personal experience of mine not a very long time ago. I visit Lethem, purchased 2 small bottles of waters, $800 Guyana. Really? On the coastline, I could buy one of those bottles for $120. Rainforest water, the same one we have on the desk, yeah? Honorable members of the government, Madam Speaker, you put 2 and 2 together. Must I repeat how expensive it is to travel to the right in our country currently? Let me touch on the roads now. Guyanese News, August 14, 2022, and I quote, "Link between Kwatata and Yupukari almost washed away." End of quote. Guyana Times, August 15, 2021. Heavy floods washed away section of Mabruma to Lethem Road. Newsroom, June 11, 2020. I quote, "Heavy rains wash away Linden Lethem Bypass Road." End of quote. If we were to attempt a successful attraction of tourists, both foreign and local, to hinterland communities, the cost associated to travel must be brought down. Funding for dependable road and bridge infrastructure must be part and parcel of that motion. Madam Speaker, TripAdvisor offers tickets to Trinidad for $450. Compare that to the price to travel from Ogle to Barima, Region 1, $6,000 to $5,000 Guyana. That is approximately $325. Who wouldn't want to put a few more dollars to travel further, get better views, and better relaxation? Madam Speaker, if we are to build roads and bridges to traverse from coastline to hinterland, take into consideration how many more businesses will benefit from this initiative, selling our tourism product itself. Take, for example, when tourists come to Guyana via the Timeri, Chedijagan International Airport. Traveling from Timeri, be it through Suzaik, Craig, the Linden Highway, East Coast, Georgetown, all the way to Berbice. How many small businesses will benefit from that? Roads, roads, roads. Imagine a little bit coconut water and stop and buy 2 egg ball, couple beers, some snacks from the supermarket. You name it. Our small businesses are benefiting. We are selling tourism product right there.
Honorable member, you have 45 seconds remaining.
For a more holistic approach, thank you, Madam Speaker. For a more holistic approach to achieving their goal, I would suggest that the government take the 2 following considerations upon themselves. Under the concern of the provision of funds, funding should also be provided for 1, a hands-on practical component of skill building for the hinterland residents. This will entail trainees being immersed in a local environment where the brand of tourism sought after is the element of the day. If one wants to learn a foreign language, Madam Speaker, the expert says immersion is the best means. Careful environmental assessments must be undertaken, and regulations must be implemented to ensure that we preserve culture and habitat for generations to come. Honorable members of the government, we cannot allow the thing we create to become a bane of our existence. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, honorable member. I now call on the Honorable Member Deshaun Harris, Shadow Minister of Local Government and Regional Development. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. After listening to the two presentations from both sides of the aisle, I'm convinced that we all here today are looking for a tourism sector that is thriving. But of course, that is not the debate here today. We are not debating intentions. We are debating actions. And what actions should be taken by this House to ensure that our country moves forward. I would therefore like to echo the sentiments of my colleague just now, who said that she wishes to commend the government for tabling a motion of such national importance. I too wish the same. However, Madam Speaker, there are aspects of the Minister of Tourism's motion which do not reside within the realm of practicality, and for which we, on both sides of the aisle, should not support. Madam Speaker, the government proposes, I quote, "We should embrace a vision to develop tourist attractions in inland communities to attract tourism and businesses." The government proposes this while most of our source markets are still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, and while many countries are considering what measures should be taken to curb the spread of the monkeypox virus across international borders. This the government proposes while the United Nations World Trade Organization has labeled the pandemic as the worst crisis that international tourism has faced since records began in 1950. Given these circumstances, Madam Speaker, it is quite peculiar that during a time of global economic recession and during a time where there is general hesitancy towards traveling abroad, the government wishes to increase spending in a sector which is underperforming. Surely, Madam Speaker, our citizens deserve more. Surely they deserve for us to consider the weight that we are placing on the initiatives to use their taxpayers' dollars in order to drive this country forward. And we should therefore make decisions which are reflective of evidence-based science and not fanciful ideas. Madam Speaker, to what extent should our people sacrifice their way of life, their culture, their enterprise, and their communities to an incomplete, inadequate, and disorganized plan by the Minister of Tourism across the aisle? To what extent should they subject themselves to the delusions of grandeur at the risk of their culture being degraded, all for the pursuits of profit? Madam Speaker, we on this side of the aisle agree that tourism can create a multiplier effect through the creation of jobs and the development of infrastructure across this country. We do not wish to dispute that fact. However, Madam Speaker, we have been here before. The Guyanese people have seen in the past the burden that can be placed on the public treasury by improper financial management and poor conceptualization, as we've seen by the inimical presentation given across the aisle. We are saying on behalf of the Guyanese people that enough is enough. Madam Speaker, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice and expecting a different result. In 2015, the government lobbied for increased spending in the tourism sector in order to revitalize that sector. And those monies were granted to the government. Since then, Madam Speaker, these are the facts.
Honorable Member, you have 50 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. According to a report on travel and tourism competitiveness by the International Development Bank, from a total of 141 countries, Guyana ranks 99th in health and hygiene, 113th in safety and security, 116th in national cultural resources, and 135th in tourism services infrastructure. Madam Speaker, enough is enough. Based on those figures, it is clear that the monies granted to the government in the past were not used positively for the development of the sector. So why should we come here again and grant more monies to the government for the same projects? As was alluded to earlier, Madam Speaker, all of us in this honorable House wish to see a thriving tourism sector. And again, that is not up for debate. We recommend, therefore, that instead of throwing more monies at the issue, we should first develop a bipartisan committee to establish a strategy geared towards training our people and developing a national approach for enhancing our tourism product. We believe that there is a need for greater focus on health and safety standards, greater focus on seamless transition for travelers at our airports and airstrips, hotels, lodges, and tourist attractions, and for us to develop a technology-based industry. Should such a strategy be developed, Madam Speaker, I am sure that myself and all of my colleagues are willing to lend our support to the government's motion here today. But if this is not done, we cannot adopt, or we are not willing to lend our support to what was tabled earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now call on the Honorable Carlito Williams, Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, to make prestation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this motion put forward by my colleague, the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, the Honorable Keynote Payne. I wish to state from the outset that I echo every single line in this motion. Any reasonable parliamentarian who is here to execute the people's business, I dare say any right-thinking person, should find themselves in the corner of this motion. Madam Speaker, I came in these doors anxious and very curious to see who would dare challenge the need to create new avenues, to traverse remote communities, and to open up access and tourism opportunities to small business owners. Equally, I wanted to see who would dare to be today's snitch and stand against the need to have improved cross-cultural communication. It is extremely interesting to see such audaciousness on display in this august House. There are actually grown people who stand in opposition to this government's drive to provide the funding needed to improve food handling, accounting, customer service, entrepreneurship, business management, and more. The honorable members on the other side should bow their head in shame. Madam Speaker, ordinarily, this motion should not be met with any hint of dissent or a single murmur of resistance. But when men and women have lost their reason, this is what we must face. For decades, we have touted the need to open up all areas for access and allowing opportunities to flow. Today, Madam Speaker, I am here to announce that this government is finished with the talk and is ready to move to action. We put in we money, we mouth there, enough talk. We invite the honorable members on that side of the House to join the march to development. Madam Speaker, there should be little doubt about the undeniable connection between economic opportunities and tourism. The potential for economic growth and development related to the tourism industry are fully recognized across the world. Madam Speaker, the increasing need to implement a national strategy on the tourism sector is imperative. Thus, it is important to develop a tourism action plan with the view to optimize the role of tourism as an engine and catalyst for economic development and growth in Guyana. Through the establishment of a conducive environment, regional cooperation, advocacy, and stakeholder participation. Madam Speaker, global tourism growth figure give us hope and faith of the role the sector can play in transforming the world's economies. In 2019, international tourist arrivals grew 4% to a new record of 1.5 billion tourists based on data reported by destinations around the world. Madam Speaker, even in the face of COVID-19, with all its travel restrictions, many forms of community tourism, such as is present in Guyana, remain viable. One such example being the Keynote National Park. Madam Speaker, these facts are well known by my colleagues on that side of the House. They know these things. It is their pretense, their anti-people and anti anti-development posture, which is on full display here today, that has earned them a firm and permanent seat in the opposition benches. Madam Speaker, my focal point is local governance and regional development. I wish to reiterate for my friends on that side. Let me go that slowly. Regional development. If we are going to fully exploit Guyana's tourism opportunities, we focus on infrastructure. Infrastructure and more infrastructure. We must develop the physical and administrative capacity of our regions. Madam Speaker, this motion caters for an initial spending of $3 billion from Central over the next 12 months and approximately $15 billion over the next 3 years. How can someone in good conscience oppose that?
Honorable member, you have 55 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Shadow Minister of Local Government and Regional Development.
Madam Speaker, I like to extend 1 minute for the honorable member to continue her speech.
Granted.
This government is prepared to find the funding to establish a first-class transportation network infrastructure that will link our interland communities. Not only will tourism benefit, but the general ease of movement relating to regional commerce will receive the needed boost. Madam Speaker, who can sit here and say that they don't want a bridge across the Kurpakari crossing, for example? Madam Speaker, this budget lays the groundwork for this to be a reality within 5 years. Madam Speaker, a pata-pata pontoon across our waterways, the communities such as Kokwani, Peruni, and Mango Landing will be a thing of the past. It starts with this simple motion. But my honorable friends on the other side stand in opposition to development. They stand in opposition to development of tourism, in opposition to growth of village economies.
Point of order, please, Madam Speaker. The Speaker may refer to her speech and not read them. It's clearly written in the rules. Chapter 5:16. 16A. Chapter 5:6A.
Honorable member, you may continue.
In opposition to infrastructure development, in opposition to increased income for our people. Shameful, shameful. I dare say shameful. I stand in awe of the size of blindfold the opposition member chooses to wear while standing in the proverbial box no bigger than a casket, a set of dead ideas. The fact remains that this government has been working overtime to ensure the overall development of our country. I refer the honorable member to our budget debate of 2014 when the government passed $3 billion for development of community enterprises. Since that time, immense development has occurred in communities that have never seen such development before. One example being the Bartica Boulevard. The evidence is there. We have a good track record and intend to build on it through this motion. Madam Speaker, such a fine young woman as yourself, I'm sure you would like to visit Bartica and walk on the boulevard beneath the stars, hand in hand with the love of your life, as you take in the breathtaking Essequibo River. Madam Speaker, be not swayed by the opposition's futile argument to stifle the development of our beautiful country. Development of tourism is the way forward, a fact that is known by the opposition. I rest my case. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now call on the Honorable Member, Kalina Balkan, Shadow Minister of Labor. The floor is yours.
Madam Speaker, honorable members of the government and opposition, good afternoon. Now, let's turn our attention to the government's motion, developing and promoting tourism in Guyana. I want to thank the honorable members on the other side of the House for reading out their motion so thoroughly, because obviously they didn't have any evidence to back up their arguments and they had to waste time. Now, Madam Speaker, there is no doubt in any of the minds of the opposition that tourism, when managed effectively, can be a boon for the host country. But let's examine this motion. There are no safeguards in place to protect anyone working in the tourism industry in this country that we call home. Firstly, and this should go without saying, but tourism is a highly seasonal industry, and this is supported by numerous reports, including one of the latest published by the International Labour Organization in April 2022, titled The Future of Work in the Tourism Sector. Now, seasonality simply means that for some months of the year, tourism may be profitable, but it's not a guarantee. Otherwise, tourism sector workers could find themselves laid off or underemployed. Let's look at Guyana's ecotourism sector. Given its remote and dangerous location in the interior, there are several months in the year that our tourism industry cannot operate effectively. And I'm talking about our rainy seasons. Hello, people. Our eco lodges can't be open during these months. They literally shut down. Madam Speaker, has the government given any thought to what these tourism sector workers will do during that time? Obviously not. It is utterly visionless people, to create a motion that does not acknowledge that Guyana's ecotourism sector is limited, its profitability is limited by our own climate. And they spoke nothing of seasonal unemployment, the inevitable seasonal unemployment. Now, according to the Guyana Tourism Authority, the tourism sector added 22,000 jobs to the country in 2018 alone. Impressive. Except, Madam Speaker, that figure doesn't even begin to tell the whole story. Not only is that figure pre-pandemic, but let me quote some more recent and, dare I say, relevant facts from the Guyana Bureau of Statistics National Labour Force Survey of May 2021. Our unemployment rate in the rural communities jumped from 28,000 persons at the beginning of 2020 to 33,000 persons at the beginning of 2021, an increase of nearly 5,000 persons out of work because of the lockdowns. Has the government even begun to think about how they could blindly encourage the people of the hinterland communities to put all of their eggs in one basket? There should be the provision of a safety net, a government assistance program for any tourist worker that finds themselves out of a job because of conditions that are out of their control. And that does not exist in this motion currently. Furthermore, I acknowledge tourism can be a creator of many, many jobs. But let's think about it now. The vast majority of tourism workers are women and young people, and both of these groups are uniquely vulnerable to the
Honourable Member, you have 45 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the issues of the tourism sector. Now, most of the workers in Guyana are informally employed. That's about half from the Guyana Bureau of Statistics. Informal employment means that the country's workers cannot be adequately protected by our laws. Has the government said anything about creating an effective regulatory framework to protect the most vulnerable members of our tourism sector? No, they have not. Madam Speaker, I conclude by saying tourism could be wonderful. More employment, wonderful. But what quality of jobs? How secure are these jobs? Obviously not very, and I hope that the next speaker of the Honourable, the other side of the House, doesn't come reading this motion again, because I've pointed out all of the flaws that don't even exist. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now call on Honorable Member Latoya Bitoon, Minister of Labor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To everyone present in this noble house this afternoon, I bid you a pleasant afternoon. Like Martin Luther King, I also have a dream, a South American dream that is, where all of our citizens can win and no longer have to worry about how they'll provide for their kin. Too many times we hear sons and daughters of this soil complaining about job availability. As the Minister of Labor, it is high time for something to be done for our citizens. Madam Speaker, the tourism sector, when developed further, will result in the need for more labor force. As a result, moreover, we will have more job opportunities. Honorable members, Madam Speaker, it's important to note that the tourism industry includes jobs from executive to entry level, skills from customer service to engineering, and sectors including hospitality, transportation, and engineering. According to an article published on the 18th of January 2022 by the International Labour Organization, the unemployment rate in Guyana has increased by 13.7% in 2020 compared to that of 2019. I, the Minister of Labor, Madam Speaker, and all the sane members of the government cannot, should not, and will not continue to allow this dire plague to gallivant in our beautiful land. According to another article published by Ivy Panda on August 20, 2019, the tourism industry is amongst the leading and most vibrant industries in the current global economy. Projection in the tourism industry indicates that the industry will cover 9% of the total gross domestic product, and over 235 million occupations representing 9% of the worldwide employment will increase in a few years from now. Most governments rely on the tourism sectors. Take, for example, the South African government, His Excellency Jacob Zuma. In an online interview, he noted how optimistic he is about developing his tourism sector, since for every 16 tourists that visits the country, one job is provided for the country. Not only him, but the former Minister of Tourism of India, in his time, he ordered additional skills to be provided for the people to develop the tourism sector so that more jobs can be created. Honorable members, Madam Speaker, if such knowledgeable minds can see the importance of developing their tourism sector, who are we as a developing country to play a blind eye? Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Labor positions tourism as a supreme job creator that needs different level of skills. Such skills can be enhanced through vocational training and education, which is being done already in few of our regions. However, we should not settle for less. We, the Ministry of Labor and the government, envision trainings that will enhance cross-culture communication, flora and fauna upkeeping, engineering sectors, in hospitality, entertainment, and so more things that will be an asset in the tourism sector, not just in a few regions, but across the length and breadth of this beautiful country. What goes to one must go for all. We can't leave out nobody. Madam Speaker, this can be steered by the impact of technology, environmental concern, as well as demanding customers.
Honorable Member, you have 55 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Besides, efficiency and competitiveness in this sector relies on professionalism, skills, and dedication of the employees. Comrades, one may want to say that the economic impact of the tourism industry is impressive as it is. However, when further developed, the workforce opportunity will offer Guyanese not just today, not just tomorrow, but a lifeline of entry-level jobs. What goes to one must go for all. Brad Trumbull once said, tomorrow can be better Only we have the power to do that. Let's use it wisely. You know what they say? Forward ever, backward never. Don't stop the progress. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, please remember your level of decorum. Thank you, honorable member. I now call on the honorable member, Sherry Ann Mangrove, Shadow Minister of Housing and Water, to make her presentation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Beautiful. We are not about fancy speeches over here. Let's fix this motion that has a lot of problems. What the government is speaking on is very beautiful. But where is the purpose in this motion is something I'm finding a hard time to actually figure out. It is almost as though someone wrote the motion and the speeches and just handed it over. Madam Speaker, it is without a doubt that tourism is pivotal to a country's economy, with just two simple reasons being highlighted: is that it creates avenue to boost revenues, and it also creates job employment. As such, we, the opposition, we are related to have our voices heard under such a motion. However, it is with great dissatisfaction that I say the purpose of this motion lacks proper foundation and lacks proper reasoning. I am unable to give my full support, and may I share why. To achieve the greatest rewards from our tourism sector, there are critical aspects of development that needs to be developed. Madam Speaker, infrastructure remains high upon that list. Madam Speaker, imagine my dismay when all of the be it resolved proposed by the government motion lacks and did not mention physical infrastructure, but clearly highlights develop tourist attraction in hinterland communities to attract tourism and business. With what purpose are we developing these tourist attractions when actually accessing the facilities will pose great challenges? Hence, the importance of tourism infrastructure is reflected in the fact that it can contribute to the increase in efficiency, production, and distribution of tourism. With insignificant access to the hinterland, travelers are left to find alternative modes of transportation, which can be very costly. Now, expense on tourism sounds good if we are only solely targeting overseas travelers, but what about our local Guyanese? Expensive means another vacation placed on ice. Now, what are we working for if not one Guyana, or as the honorable member across the aisle said, one people, one nation, one destiny? According to the Department of Public Information online postings made on October 26, 2019, the then Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Noel Holder, shared the sentiments, I quote, "The Rupununi region can be the backbone of Guyana's hinterland development. This will build a sustainable and resilient economy," unquote. Moving forward, according to the same source, prominent members of the government met with Tushals in Latem, and these were the sentiments shared. Rupununi in Region 9 has the largest tourist circuit in the country, and tourism is one of the main drivers, unquote. Madam Speaker, what one can notice here is a consistent acknowledgement that the hinterland area is an asset towards the tourism sector. Yet, the required infrastructure for making the journey into the hinterland remains a huge impediment. For example, getting to the Iwokrama Conservation by bus is a journey susceptible to terrible conditions on the Latem Trail, a trail that is one of the core entries into that area. Kaitra News, April 12, 2021, published, quote unquote, "Main access bridge collapses under weight of truck with vehicles stranded on either side." Most recently, Starbrook News publication on July 28, 2022 made reports, quote unquote, "Section of Georgetown to Latem Trail collapses, leaving traffic on either side of the road backed up." Madam Speaker, I am convinced that the honorable member presenting this motion is proposing it without quite comprehending factors that contribute to successful tourism. This can be seen as a neglect to apply oneself to the needs of your country and lack of thorough researching. Madam Speaker, the motion being presented here is merely a scratch on the surface of what successful tourism really requires in the hinterland area. What happens when tourist attractions are developed, but the basic foundations to present and meet the basic needs of tourists are missing?
Honorable member, you have 50 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And yes, I do know about ecotourism, but let me ask you a question. How many travelers and how many tourists will be willing to have a kiss by our national jaguar when traveling through the Lethem Trail. We must not and cannot disregard infrastructure development. We must remember the construction of basic services it is a need in order to stimulate economic growth and the quality of life, in extension, experiences. Madam Speaker, I implore the government, let's take another approach to our solutions and let's work together to building a dynamic tourism sector for Guyana. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now call on the Honorable Member, Calvin Roberts, Minister of Amerindian Affairs. The floor is yours.
Helekuba Baukaya. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to address the august body. I come on the shoulder of my predecessor, the late Mr. Stephen Campbell, who was a trailblazer for the indigenous people. On his shoulder today, I stand to make my presentation. Madam Speaker, out of 100 countries in the communities and culture category of the 2022 Green Destinations Story Award, the Riwa Eco Lounge in the Rupununi Region 9, the place where I am from, placed second. I repeat, Madam Speaker, Guyana's Riwa Eco Lodge placed second for that international award. If that doesn't speak volume towards the potential of hinterland tourism and why we should invest in its development, then you lack vision. It is this same vision that the Minister of Tourism has, which inevitably led her to bring forth this motion here today. Madam Speaker, before oil discovery, when one heard the name Guyana, the first thought that comes to mind is nature, the land of many waters, containing some of the most diverse species of aquatic life, virgin forests, untouched and waiting to be discovered. Think of the new species of flora and fauna we can find and the scientific and environmental breakthroughs that can happen. Madam Speaker, let us not neglect our rich, multifaceted culture that accompanies our fascinating history. These are all avenues to develop which will propel Guyanese to a brighter future. Madam Speaker, as the Minister of Amerindian Affairs, when I speak about development of hinterland tourism, I speak with sustainability in mind. Whatever we do now must benefit the generations to come. My ministry will develop a plan to see that each village is equipped with a modern guest house that is eco-friendly, which tourists can be truly immersed. Not only will these accommodations be a magnet for businesses to set up, but it will also generate employment for residents in these villages. Madam Speaker, during the initiation phase, interested residents from each villages will undergo training sessions in skill areas that are fundamental to the development of enterprises such as food handling, accounting, customer service, entrepreneurship, business management, in order to build capacity and potential among these community members. One of Guyana's greatest assets is its people and the diversity among them. Madam Speaker, to disagree with this motion would show a disdain for unity and prosperity. I repeat, Madam Speaker, to disagree with this motion would show a disdain for unity and prosperity. Hence, the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs will champion the promotion of cross-cultural communication awareness across all 10 administrative regions for both local and international tourist attractions. Additionally, Madam Speaker and most learned opposition, we all know the difficulties with transportation to the hinterland, which is why it is vital that we develop a road linkage network to promote easier access to and from the hinterland. Better roads are equivalent to better businesses in terms of saving on time and cost. This road network will link communities and residents to more opportunities for business. According to the Guyana Tourism Authority in 2021, Guyana earned approximately $24 billion up to September 2021, based on the average expenditure per visitor per type, US $1,000. Most visitors travel to Guyana for recreation purposes, allotted for 64%. Business purposes, 12%. Visiting friends and relatives, 10%. Among other reasons, 14%. Madam Speaker, 64% of those persons came to Guyana for recreation purposes. Now, imagine what that number might look like once hinterland tourism is promoted and developed effectively. Our GDP will increase significantly. We can create a tourist hub like never seen before. Where in the world can you find hinterland attractions like ours? I repeat, Madam Speaker, where in the world can you find hinterland attractions like ours? We must take advantage of our uniqueness and use it for the benefit of our people. Madam Speaker, Guyana's hinterland is a budding tourist hotspot. It is time we accept the fact and begin to transform hinterland tourism.
Honourable Member, you have 25 seconds remaining.
Madam Speaker, power to the voice is power to the people. I repeat, power to the voice is power to the people. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I'll now call on Honourable Member Crystal Wills, Shadow Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, honorable members of the government, opposition members of the House, and all nationwide viewers, a pleasant afternoon. I must applaud the government for bringing this motion to this House, since it is our belief that free travel between citizens is one of the purest forms of international cooperation. However, we must highlight the serious lacking within the motion that the government is trying to throw to us today. Madam Speaker, according to worlddata.com, a total of 86,400 tourists entered Guyana in 2020. This placed the country's ranking at 175th in the world and 7th in South America. These statistics were recorded during a time when the world was still reeling from the COVID pandemic and where international travel was significantly restricted or ill-advised. Today, the world is slowly recovering, and we agree that Guyana should begin to position itself for an increase in tourist arrivals. According to a Keynote News article dated March 24, 2017, titled Guyana Positioned to Earn Dollars from Education Tourism, the president of the Textile University said, and I quote, "Every foreign student that comes into a country for medical education spends no less than $10,000 to $15,000 US per year." He also went on to say, and I quote, "So if I have 1,000 students in my program, we are talking $15 million US being plugged into the economy per year." Madam Speaker, we believe that there is a niche market for education tourists which Guyana is yet to fully make the best use of. We believe that given our cultural ties to the Caribbean, we can develop a product which can encourage persons to study and stay in Guyana. Madam Speaker, we are currently calling on the government to invest more in higher education, and here is why. Foreign students bring along with them foreign currency, which is a boost to our economy. This would be done through living costs, payment of tuition fees, traveling expenses, purchasing of goods and services. Madam Speaker, they even support local businesses. And as they participate in sightseeing, they will influence others to visit our homeland. And therefore, this motion should cater for the revenue that can come to Guyana from foreign students. The government needs to advertise on the international scale the product of education to develop and promote tourism in Guyana. In addition to that, Madam Speaker, our diaspora can play a variety of direct and indirect roles relating to tourism and its development and promotion. They can become direct investors, remitters, students. They can create businesses, get involved in foreign direct investments, become informal ambassadors. They can also promote trade and transfer new knowledge and skills. The government should foster a relationship of trust with the diaspora and ultimately encourage their contributions to the development and promotion of tourism in Guyana. The government can also reach out to our diaspora by creating programs dedicated to tourism, offering educational and exchange programs, and making their entry into Guyana easier and less expensive. Madam Speaker, the government is saying that they are calling for the provisions of avenues for the promotion of cross-cultural communication awareness. However, Madam Speaker, Guyana is already a member state of the Caribbean Tourism Organization, CTO.
Honourable Member, you have 50 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The CTO provides to and through its members the services and information necessary for the development of sustainable tourism, for the economic and social benefit of the Caribbean people, and therefore an avenue for such was already implemented. Madam Speaker, the government also talks about few communities focusing on all the cultural history of Guyana. But Madam Speaker, I do not see anything in their motion speaking about investing in cultural development to forge a unique Guyanese identity. So I'm currently calling on them to make that investment and then market that to attract tourists. Madam Speaker, we must want more people to see, feel, and embrace our many cultures. Madam Speaker, in a nutshell, the diaspora promotes tourism and is always our national brand. And the government should make the engagement with them a priority to promote tourism in Guyana. In addition to that, the government should invest more in higher level education to attract more foreign students and build our economy and tourism sector. Tourism is a major part of our economy, and we, the opposition, believe that the government should properly resolve the issues relating to one of our major sectors, being tourism. Madam Speaker, if the government wishes to make this motion, wishes to move this motion in this state, then they will be doing injustices to our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now call on the Honourable Member Ambika Singh, Minister of Home Affairs. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support the proposed motion to develop and promote tourism in Guyana. In 1995, tourism revenues in Guyana amounted to $33 million, with each tourist spending about $311. This corresponded to approximately 106,000 tourists annually at that time. Within 23 years, the country's dependence on tourism has substantially decreased. In 2018, the tourism revenues in Guyana amounted to $28 million, with each tourist spending only about $98. This corresponded to 287,000 tourists for that year. This information was obtained from the World Tourism Organization. With that being said, it is safe to conclude that the tourism industry in Guyana hasn't had the attention because more tourists are entering, but less money is being spent in the country. We, the members of government, therefore strongly believe that Guyana's tourism industry is in dire need of development for numerous reasons. Namely, 1, it will contribute significantly to Guyana's balance of payment. 2, it will conquer the cost of living issues. 3, it serves as an alternative to natural resources scarcity. 4, Guyana will gain exposure and recognition. It is of public knowledge that Guyana is a developing country. It therefore implies that the country possesses a negative balance of payment, which is an indicator of a significantly high cost of living and a low standard of living. As compared to the developed countries, our imports are drastically exceeding the exports. Madam Speaker, it is very factual that the continuous rise in cost of living is one of the most pressing issues in our country. Because of our high cost of living, many Guyanese are unable to attain the affluent lifestyle they so desire and deserve. When tourism is developed, foreign currency will be earned by the citizens through both tangible and intangible products, such as culture, transportation, hotel services, commercial centers, and sightseeing. We, the members of government, believe that everyone across Guyana deserves an opportunity to experience and enjoy a prohibitive standard of living. Madam Speaker, in addition to that, at the moment, oil and gas is a major form of revenue in Guyana, as well as other natural resources. However, at some point, wouldn't these resources be exhausted? What then? Gold is already very scarce. What will we depend on after these resources are exhausted? Honorable members of this noble house, tourism will be a reliable and long-term alternative to this, since Guyana holds a wide range of unexplored flora and fauna, as well as many cultures. Guyana is known for the tallest single-drop waterfalls and many other unique features. Why not use this to our benefit? There's so much that we can capitalize on in Guyana. This Youth Parliament therefore embraces the government vision to develop and enhance tourism in the hinterland areas by providing easy access to these areas, paving way for the private sector of the economy to input their contribution. Take Dubai, for instance. How did that city go from a barren, unpopulated desert to the 14th richest land and the world's 5th fastest growing economy? Yes, it all began with oil and gas. However, it is of course tourism that transformed this land. Us Guyanese would love for our country to attain worldwide recognition too. Furthermore, it is acceptable that skills and talent are primary elements for the development and growth of the commerce sector. It is no secret that skilled and trained individuals are so lacking in the hinterland regions, where tourist attraction will be in abundance. Therefore, this Youth Parliament also embraces the government's decision in accumulating and allocating funds towards the development of capacity and potential among these community members.
Honorable Member, you have 45 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In skill areas that are vital for the development of enterprises, such as entrepreneurship, business management, customer services, accounting, and food handling. This can be done by offering scholarships to these programs, introducing the subjects in school, and training more teachers and mentors to reinforce these concepts in school. So by the time secondary education is completed, these individuals would already have an idea in launching, managing, and maintaining a successful business. Madam Speaker, if these tactics are implemented, it is guaranteeing that the tourism and commerce industries will undergo a significant and improved transformation. To sum it all up, when the government places more emphasis on the tourism sector of Guyana, the cost of living issue, the balance of payment deficit, and the low standard of living matters will be tackled and gradually be eliminated. In addition to that, Guyana will gain more recognition and will be on the map. We all fancy a rich and prosperous Guyana, but it is only through this Youth Parliament our vision can be manifested into reality. Like Steve Maraboli said, and I quote, "While intent is the speed of manifestation, action is the water that nourishes the seed." Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. To conclude the debate, I now call on Honorable Guyana Payne, Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Shadow Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, Deshaun Harris, went on to say that the allocated money into the tourism sector was used for its purpose. Was it used for its purpose? Dear member, what evidence do you have to back your statement? What article which ranks several countries among different sectors give you the right to say that the money wasn't used towards the development of the tourism sector? Member of the other side, source your information to back your statement thoroughly. Madam Speaker, it is sad to see that the members on the other side do not acknowledge their own motherland as ground-worthy enough for tourism development. The honorable members mentioned about us still recovering from COVID-19 pandemic as what an excuse not to develop tourism. It is evidence based on science that help us to combat that pandemic. It appears, Madam Speaker, that the opposition wishes for us to throw up our hands and turn a blind eye to promote tourism. Unbelievable. Come on. The Honorable Member, Shadow Minister of Labor, said that our ecosystem lodges cannot be open during the rainy season. Am I hearing correct? Such a sentiment can only be echoed by an administration that lacks of vision. Since that itself can create a new experience for tourists, but again, it takes an administrative without vision to say something like that. Kalani Bukun, Shadow Minister of Labor, with all confidence, state with no view to her statement, which says that, I quote, tourism industry have mostly...
Point of order. I would just like to say that my name is the Honorable Member Kalina Bulkan.
Sorry.
Honorable members.
And
please
I quote,
remember your level of decorum. Honorable members, please remember your level of decorum. You may continue.
Okay. And I quote, tourism industry have mostly women and children that are not powerful. Excuse me, Shadow Minister of Labor, are you a woman? Saying that women are not powerful as men, especially in the tourism sector? Did you think of your statement before you presented your speech? Oh God.
Excuse me, again, point of clarification. Please don't misquote any member on this side of the House. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. That concludes the debate on the motion. I now put the question. Those in favor say aye. Aye! Honorable members, please maintain order. Those against say no. No! Division, Mr. Clerk.
Honorable members, please listen for your names. And
Honorable members, please remain quiet as the clerk take the name. Thank
Ronaldo Higgins. No. Ryan Prince. Arish Sugrim. No. Rihanna McCurchin.
No.
Dante Wilson.
No.
Danwantri Prasad.
No.
Sherian Mangru.
No.
Deshaun Harris.
No.
Vashti Ramaran.
No.
Randy Diochan.
No.
Kalina Bulkan.
No.
Shania Straker.
No.
Anthony Bruce.
No.
Jose Clark.
No.
Leon Beaton.
No.
And Kosi Jupiter.
No.
Malkia Harris. Javon Sampson.
With confidence, no.
Crystal Wills.
No.
Denzel Hill.
No.
Christine Richardson.
No.
Malika Russell.
No.
Christopher Best Roberts.
Yes.
Shania Eastman.
Yes.
Junan McRae.
Yes.
Donley Costello.
Yes.
Dimple Basdio.
Yes.
Karamchan Sugrim.
Yes.
Kimberly Smith.
Yes.
Arib Ali.
With utmost confidence, yes.
Carlito Williams.
Yes.
Kijana Payne. Chikalia Murray.
Yes.
Lataya Bitain.
Yes.
Calvin Roberts.
Yes.
Donald Richards.
Yes.
Ambika Singh.
Yes.
Luchani Danraj.
Yes.
Gavin Thomas.
Yes.
Isaiah Chand.
Yes.
Bibi Yasin.
Yes.
Tahila Sobers.
Yes.
Tamira Reddy.
A definite yes.
Renisha Narayan.
Yes.
Delroy Morris.
Absolute yes.
Honorable members, please remain quiet.
Madam Speaker, 23 members voted in favor of the motion, 22 members voted against the motion, and 0 members abstained.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Honorable members, the motion is carried. Honorable members, this brings us to the end of our business on the order paper for today. Honorable Prime Minister, you may move the adjournment.
Madam Speaker, the National Assembly stands adjournment till 9 p.m. on August 18, 2022. 9 a.m., August 18, 2022.
Thank you. The Assembly now stands adjourned to 9 a.m. tomorrow, 18th August 2022.